Okay, so Unit 4, we are going to move on. Hopefully you did well in the grammar exam. If not, Heather's an incredible TA. She did really well on the grammar exam. And she is a master's in communication student. And I'm sure she'll probably be valedictorian of that program. So make sure and reach out to her if you didn't do well on the grammar exam. Reach out to me as well if you prefer to speak with me about it. That's fine. I'd love to speak with you. Okay? So, not only can grammar help you in your future aspirations career-wise, and it's going to be a baseline for all of the communications in this course, is correct grammar. It can also help you on Tinder or on, what's the other one? Mutual, or some other ones I probably shouldn't mention. All of which I'm sure my younger brother is on. Okay? Alright, so secondly, did you practice active listening? We hate listeners, right? That is sarcasm. Sarcasm is not a good thing to use, and I apologize. But we love listeners. We want to be a great listener. Listigators, who, when, where, what, why, how much, right? Are you listening to people versus just getting ready to say the next thing? Okay? What we're trying to do with listening, great grammar, all these things is get to trust. And trust is where we want to be. That's building a relationship of trust. B-R-O-T, Brot, bread, German, right? Remember that, Brot. Okay? That's where we want to get. That's where communications happen. That's where things get done. That's when you can share things more candidly. And that's how you get promoted and get the career and life of your dreams, is by having people trust you. So last time we talked mostly about strategy. This time we're going to be talking about the structure of your communications. Okay? So in the book you were given these outlining methods, the top-down mind mapping and bottom-up approach. And I think it's a helpful exercise to go through some of these things. Maybe you already did, but I'm going to give you some quick scenarios. And you have these three options of outlining these messages, okay? These scenarios. So go ahead and hit pause after you read this scenario. Okay, so which outlining method would you use to outline this email, exploring positive and negative aspects? Okay, probably wouldn't be what? You're right. It probably wouldn't be a top-down approach, because we're not really sure where to go with this one. Okay, we don't have a specific goal in mind with specific outcome. We don't have specifics at all. We have kind of, okay, well, what could be positive, what could be negative? We could do a mind map, we could do a bottom up, that would be fine. The second one, okay, so this is your second scenario. All right. So on this one, top down would probably work great because we have a specific goal, a specific communication in mind. So K2 schooling should be this and this. So you can do 60% recess, list all the reasons, 40%, and you could easily organize the email that way. Okay? Third one. Oops. Okay? So when you are first getting through these methods, one of the things that a lot of people forget in the 4 A's, first one is attention, right? So they forget that people want to be drawn into the email. So in your outlining method, I think a good thing to do is to make sure you have an attention getter within that email. Okay, if you don't, right, you may not get their full, you might not get them to pay attention at all, right? So make sure that you have an attention getter in that email. All right. Second A, agenda, right? So outline how it's going to be. You saw the emails I saw last time. You'll see the email 3 to the coach, right? The email 3, I said, here is what I want to go over. Okay, this is what I'm concerned about. Here are the reasons why. And then I went through the agenda for that email and that communication, right? And you'll see that on a lot of my videos. What we'll do is today we're talking about these things, and this is what we're going to learn about, right? So I stick with that agenda on these meetings. Okay, the third A, argument, right? Can you structure an argument well? This will be the bulk of the grading on a couple of assignments. Is have you properly used logic or facts or ethos, credibility? Have you done those things well? Does your argument make sense? Do you have any logical fallacies that are kind of sneaking up in there somehow, right? So that's part of where a lot of these communications fall apart, is your argument just isn't very sound. And then the action. You've written this long email, and at the end you say, okay, great, let's, thanks for paying attention. Versus, I'd appreciate it if you get back to me on this date, on this time. Or, here are the 3 things that I need from you by next Tuesday. Okay? Well, you need to have some type of call to action, or a lot of the times they'll skip over the whole email looking for some type of action to do at the end of the email, and you haven't put it in there, so they don't know what to do. Okay? People are so busy, remember? And because they are busy, they're looking for shortcuts to everything in life. And one of the shortcuts they do take is skimming an email at the end if you have a great call to action. It ties your argument together, concludes your agenda, then you'll have a lot more success when delivering and sending emails. Okay? Scenario 3, let's go through this one real quick. Okay? Top down, bottom up, or mind map. Okay? And this one I kind of like the bottom up approach or the mind map, and I'm not sure which one. Whatever one fits you better, but I actually want to talk about this one specifically in a life skill scenario. Okay, so a lot of my background is running international projects for some large, I don't even want to call these types of companies. They're not companies you want to deal with, but they're health and wellness companies. And so what would happen was this was an actual assignment that I got, this scenario. I would say, hey, I do this, versus actually spending the time to outline what I wanted to say. I didn't plan it. Okay, I didn't structure it well. My boss is like, oh, what the world, And then I thought, well, what would I want to know? Think about the audience, right? What would I want to know if I were the one going? Okay? And so what the biggest issue that I've actually started to find, so you get your grammar down, you get your arguments down, etc., but you'll forget that people aren't like you. And there are other cultures out there that just aren't going to be, they either want to be for you to be way more direct than you are, less direct than you are, or that you're having some social, you're somehow doing something socially unacceptable to them in their culture. So you need to be aware of international culture. So let me give you an example. This is an email from one of, I had to hire a consultant or attorney in Poland. And so we sent out kind of a feeler like, hey, can you do these types of things? And this is the email that I got back from someone who was referred to me. And so, go ahead, pause and read it. What happened in my mind immediately is, where do your eyes go? So you see a smiley face, winky face, smiley face, smiley face. So Susanna apparently has a crush on me, which she shouldn't because I'm 5'6" and bald, right? But she somehow had a crush on me, I thought. I don't know what I was thinking. And what I found out later is this actually is kind of a common practice in Poland. You can see that for me, emoticons in the first email is probably a bad idea. Do you think we hired her? No, we didn't. Because I was scared of future winky faces. Actually, I wasn't sure what I was scared of. I was scared of lots of things from this email. But if you can't understand what the culture is like in wherever you're going, you've got to be able to find people who do. And if they're not willing to do that, then why am I going to pay this Polish attorney, I think something like $200 to $400 an hour to do our stuff if she doesn't understand our cultural norms? one of which is not hitting on the person sending you an email for a bid, which she probably wasn't, but how I took it a little. So before you send emails, make sure that you understand culture as part of your outlining process, as part of your audience, as part of the structure of the email. So what I say is, first off, go travel. Not now. It's probably a bad idea. But figure life out in different ways other than just sitting at your desk and thinking that China does these things this way, and Taiwan this way, and Germany this way, and Canada, etc. Actually go there. I had a boss that would send us to the countries that we were over just so we could kind of get to know the people and cultures of the places that we were dealing with. Okay, and so when you're writing an email, a lot of the problems that I see will be things like idioms or fancy words or indirect passive communications that they aren't going to get. So when you're communicating with international audiences, what you do is I take it basically to, would a caveman understand this? And then I take it a step above and use the jargon for the specific industry that they would understand and wouldn't be confusing. And then I would check with, and I did this a lot, especially when I was, running, we were in about 22 countries. I would check with in-country personnel saying, hey, am I forgetting anything? Am I overstepping any bounds culturally? And sometimes I would be, and I'd have to dial it back. And other times I was starting to understand. So before you send out all these information, when you send out emails, before you make calls, before you do all these types of things, first off, like I said, pick an outlining method that that would work for you in a specific scenario. Then talk about the 4 A's, get your attention, agenda, argument, and action in. And part of the and once you've built that, then say, is this going to work for the type of audience that I'm working for, right? So purpose, audience, go back to the audience strategy and structure, go back to the audience section, and is this going to fit within those cultural norms? And if you do that, you will be a lot more successful at influencing and having people pay attention than otherwise. If you learn this 4A structure and do it well, you'll realize that this is a cornerstone of this course, is pass and 4A. If you can do this well, you'll be amazed at how effective your emails can be. You'll be amazed at how people pay attention. If you don't, and you're just like everybody else, some people will pay attention there, some people will pay attention there, but you'll be nowhere near as effective if you use the structure that we've talked about in this email. And we'll go over some of these things again, but if you have an important email that you'd like to send out, or you have important communication or a call or interview or whatever it is, and you'd like to consult with me about it and how we can structure this communication more effectively, I'd love to help you out. So if you have any questions or comments, then let me know.